Well folks, welcome to Picking Antiques. I thought today we'd show you a few antique boxes because they are quite a staple of the antiques trade, the old boxes. So we've got this one here, which we've acquired from a car boot, as it happens. Now this is a beautiful box. It's been built in walnut, and I think originally this may well have been for checkers or something like that. But it has, the way it's been made, if you look at the front of it, when you close the box, as you can see, you can hardly see where the join is. So this is extremely well made. It's a very, very well made piece and was probably made by a cabinet maker or a joiner. And it is beautiful quality if you look at it inside and look at the top of it and that. Finished with walnut veneer, and the base has been nicely made too. Now if you look at the way the hinges have been made, and you can see there where you see hinges that have been inserted, they're essentially held in place by a rectangular recess in the wood, and then they stop from coming out by a little spot there, which is probably a dowel. That is a very much a 30s, 40s, early 50s technique of putting hinges into boxes. I don't think it's really used these days, and it wasn't used so much in early 1900 either. They tended to use just straightforward brass hinges in at that time. And so I actually think this box dates back to the late Empire era, which is around about the 30s and 40s. Anyway, very beautiful quality walnut box, absolutely superb, good, solid and fairly heavy. Okay, so the next little box I'm going to show you, which is also very, very well made, is this Art Deco box. Now it is unfortunately a bit of a shame that somebody's been round this with a blue felt tip or something similar to that, and they have done it untold damage, and unfortunately it would originally have looked like the top, and there's a bit of a blemish there where it's been dinked. But this is still fantastically made little box, and a very, very cute little item, superb. Somebody's put their cotton reels in it, by the way. But the lid opens and closes, and there's very, very little play on it, which means that it was extremely well made originally. And again, you've got the hinges which have been made as inserts, very much a sort of 20s 30s style. The base hasn't been tampered with. Now I have tried to get this pen off, and unfortunately it's not very, you can't really do it. But it's still a very cute little box, very, very nice. It is very well made, and it is quite an overtly shaped deco piece too. If you see where the round pieces here and that, they were doing in wood in the 20s what we now do in plastic in the 2020s. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, this is an interesting one. This is a chip carved box in the Black Forest style, and it almost certainly was originally a cigarette box because it's that sort of exact size and shape, and as you'll see in a minute, the inside of it is configured pretty well exactly like a cigarette box. And again, as we said earlier on in this video, when you see fitted hinges which are fitted into a recess, and then you see the single piece of dowel there which holds them down, that is very, very characteristic of around the 30s and 40s, maybe the 20s a little bit as well. So that kind of dates this box to probably around that era, early mid-century kind of thing, pre-World War II I would say. This box probably had a little plate on the top originally, and the chip carving is in the Black Forest style, and I don't know if this is Black Forest or not, but it looks a lot like it, must say. So it has a little catch on it, and inside you can see this is pretty much configured like a cigarette box. And interestingly, somebody's gone to the trouble of doing the chip carving on the inside, which makes me wonder whether it was made from pressed timbers originally or something like that. I'm not really sure, but still a very interesting and quite a nice old vintage box. quite beautiful to look at too. It's quite a nice item to have on the shelf and that. Okay, the next off is, you can probably tell what's inside this. It's either jewellery or cutlery. In this particular case it's cutlery. When you're buying this kind of thing, always look for the condition. They are quite hard to sell except during around the Christmas period, when people are looking specifically for cutlery. And a lot of people use vintage cutlery. In this case we've got a set of spoons in there. Now these are a well-known design done by various different companies, and they're called apostle spoons. These are supposed to be apostles that are on the handle of the spoon there, and they are silver plate. Of course they're not silver. You can get silver ones, and you expect to pay quite a bit for them. Certainly not car boot prices anyway, which is where this came from. When you're looking for things like this though, one of the things you often see is a missing item, and that just destroys the value completely. So you look for the condition of the felt being pretty well intact the way it should be, without too much moulderizing, without too much discoloration, and looking for the condition of the paper on the outside, which is fake skin. It's not real crocodile skin. It's paper that's made to look like skin. So you're looking for the general condition of that. Make sure it's in good condition. Make sure the hinges are all working and they're not going to fall off or anything like that. And if you get a good complete one that's in nice intact condition, you can sell them for a reasonable price. They never sell for very high money, unfortunately, although a lot of dealers seem to think they do. Maybe they do in tourist areas, I'm not sure. But that's an interesting thing, because you will see quite a lot of these in car boots. Okay, so the last couple of items that I've picked up. This is almost certainly a tourist item, and it probably comes from either Canada or Norway. Probably Norway, I would think. But it's interesting in that it is actually hand painted, because you know how these days you would get probably some kind of a print or a photograph put on there, and back if you go back far enough you get them hand painted. And again here we see, look, the little spot dowels holding the hinges in. This denotes sort of 30s, 40s, as we said before. So we know that this does have reasonable age to it, and probably predates printing of that kind anyway, which is probably why it's like that. It's a nicely made, nicely fitting box. It's still in full working order. It's got some staining to the timbers, but if it's not grossly exaggerated, then it counts as patina really. So but that is a beautiful little thing, and I would think collectors will probably want that. Okay, last off we got this fantastic item. I'm not 100% sure where this came from. It is almost certainly tourist goods. Whether it's Black Forest or not, or whether it's just another part of the region, I'm not sure. I think that if this turns out to be a bear rather than a dog, then it could well be Black Forest. But I think it's a dog. Because you look at the side profile there, it's like a Scotty dog, a wee Scotty dog. So I think it's a dog, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's a dog box basically. It's a box. It's a dog, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic item. I love selling things like this because they're just absolutely brilliant. And again, we have buried hinges. There's no dowels in these ones, but a tourist item would probably have been possibly a bit too cheap to do that. I don't know. But the way this has been made, it's almost like poker work, but it's very, very Black Forest in style, and it could well be from that sort of region of Germany, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a fantastic little item, and this is the kind of thing you should look out for, because very, very collectible, especially to dog owners. Okay folks, that brings us to the end of this version of Picking Antiques. Thanks so much for watching, bye.